Hello, welcome to Conway Video. This video is about disagreements. Disagreements kind of bring to mind ideas of conflict and of trouble and turbulence. But I've been finding that disagreements can also be opportunities and for learning and for knowledge and for discovery. And so in a way, disagreements can be really useful. And so I'd like to talk a bit about why that is or how I've experienced that. I find it really interesting whenever I come across disagreements between people, and especially like really emotional disagreements where people really do believe that they are at odds, and so they're really battling it out in ideas. You know, one person is writing one idea, and then another person is responding to that with a different idea, and then maybe a third person is coming in and giving their own take on it. These I find are really also valuable opportunities for learning. They can be, because often the disagreement isn't necessarily really a disagreement. It's more that the two sides are talking about different things, and so each of them has a different take on the situation and a different set of ideas. But within that disagreement, within that conflict, I found you really get to discover a lot of essential truths about both about the ideas, and you get to learn a lot. I can give you kind of a simple example about this, which is to do with personal finance. So I've been looking into a number of different personal finance forums online where people discuss their finances, their money situation, what they're doing with their money. And I've come across really interesting debates within those forums. And one debate was about superannuation versus non-superannuation. And the person is asking, should I put my money into non-superannuation, like savings accounts and other investments, or should I put my money into superannuation? And there turn out to be pretty good arguments for both sides. There are some people who say, well, if you put it into superannuation, you pay less tax, and so you can make more money. But then there are people on the other side who say, well, yeah, but then you can't access it until you're a certain age, and so then the money isn't much good to you if you can't get at it, is it? And so I see these two conflicts, and that's just a very simple summary of them, but there's so many other ideas that come into play, like, you know, how much money would you want to sacrifice earlier on so that you can get more money later due to the tax deferral? Or what sort of a lifestyle do you think you're going to live when you're at the age where you can get superannuation? And so out of this basic disagreement comes all these smaller sub-disagreements and all these smaller, more detailed questions. And that's where I find a huge amount of learning comes from. So by engaging with that forum post and looking at the arguments, I was able to actually learn quite a lot just generally about investments and about superannuation and about tax. And so even if I came out of reading that without really knowing which side I was on, you know, part of me wanted to go with non-super and part of me wanted to go with super. Even though I came out of that not really knowing which side to take, I came out of it also having learned a lot about the landscape and having just learned to ask questions that I hadn't thought of, you know. I learned to ask questions like, you know, what do I want my retirement to be like when I'm in my 60s? Or what does money mean to me now versus in the future? Or how much should tax be influencing how I spend or how I invest? And so you can see already that out of, you know, a fairly simple conflict or disagreement, you can learn a lot of things, and you don't necessarily have to pick a side. You don't necessarily have to say that it's all this way or it's all that way. But what you can moreover do is actually find out why is the disagreement there in the first place? What are the issues that underlie that disagreement, and what can I learn about those issues? And you can learn about all kinds of things that you wouldn't have normally learned about, and that you might not have even thought were questions, because you just hadn't encountered those sorts of questions until you saw people debating that. And then when they started to debate it, then the questions came out and the disagreements came out, but also the new ideas and the questions came out. So yeah, I'm always really interested in disagreements, and this goes into so many different fields. I mean, even in software development, there are disagreements about what frameworks are better for what purposes. Should we use tabs or spaces? Even something simple like that, tabs or spaces, you get into so many ideas and questions that you hadn't thought of, like, you know, should one team member's preferences override another, or should all the team work the same way, or should the team work in different ways depending on personal preferences? So it opens up this whole kind of set of questions and ideas that you learn so much from just by mentally working through those ideas, even if you never actually end up resolving the disagreement in one direction or another. So yeah, disagreements. I say bring them on. Thanks for watching.